Let's get started. Make sure to check the links in the description. Let me know if you need any tokens added to my watch list. Happy to go over these each week. Currently do have a list of about 60, and I've recently added top 10 DAOs by treasury size into a watch list group. So each week can kind of I'll check in with Deep DAO, see what the top 10 DAOs are, add their tokens to the watch list, and we'll see how that changes over time. With that, let's get started. And if you're found this video through any of my Lens social profiles, please let me know, and thank you for following that link in Lens. All right, go by Ernest of Gaia. In Trading View, I'm known as Lotus Fugal. Don't usually post very much to my Trading View account, but it is what I use to set up my charts and my alerts. We'll be using this today. We take a look here of my list of things that we track. Almost 80% of it is crypto, a little bit of futures, a little bit of funds, little forex, little stocks, and of course some indexes. We like to watch how these move in relation to each other, and if you have any currencies that you would like me to add to the list, let me know. About a third of these are in the stocks, are in electronic technology sectors, retail trade, or consumer durables. You can see I track the VIX, the Dixie, S&P 500, NASDAQ, Indian rupee, the euro, Australian dollar, QQQ, as well as Apple, Google, Tesla, and Amazon. We sometimes look at some crypto market cap and dominance figures, as well as, of course, looking at ETH and BTC in relation to S&P 500 and their perpetual futures contracts, and ETH BTC in relation to each other. And we do track the Brave New Coin Liquid Index for Bitcoin, which is the longest amount of data that we have. But most of our low time frame stuff, we use regular exchanges. We track some things that I have some positions in. Of course, a lot of folks received OP in the Optimism airdrop. If you're a Bankless DAO member, you have the bank token. Everybody should have a little bit of Solana. It's kind of easy to trade. Mostly trading Solana to get more SOL, so that I can use their network. And if I never have to, buy SOL tokens, and I can just trade for them, just makes it easy for me. Of course, we use Polygon and Balancer on Polygon, so often I have those tokens. Some tokens that are on Dexable, OP and Perp, and then also track ENS, AVAX, Sushi, Basic Attention Token, Gitcoin, Presearch, SOS, Juicebox, ADA, Atom, Axie, Celsius. Celsius should probably disappear. Dot, Friends with Benefits, Ghost, Kyber Network, one of the first cryptos I bought years ago, along with Link and Mana, and of course, Mir, Shiba, UOS for some gaming and metaverse type of cryptos. And then, of course, the DAOs that we track are Dot, Uniswap, and Mana by market cap. And then on Bybit, as well as ENS, BitDAO, Gnosis DAO, Lido DAO, Frax, Ohm, and Curve. Those are currently the top 10 or 11 DAOs by Treasury according to DAO.io. So I've added those to my list, our list. So we start from the top. Let's see. YouTube seems to be working fine. Nobody in the chat yet. I have to keep remembering to check the chat. Also, hopefully the music isn't too loud. It's very, very low. I published a video the other day and it was much louder than my voice. So I like looking at volatility of the S&P 500 index on the 3-month time frame. We can, essentially for most of my teenage and adult life, this has been my, what goes on in the markets. We can see that they are volatile. We are coming into increasingly more and more volatility. And, we're at the high end of this volatility. And we're getting squeezed in, the amount of volatility that we have. So it's like increasing and increasingly more rapid. Of course, if we break this trend line here, we can expect a period of, over the course of years for some decreasing volatility. But due to the inverted yield curve for bonds in the US, I am looking at a recession sometime before 2025. That being said, volatility is good for the traders. Most of my bills are in US dollar, so I always like to start with, looking at the US dollar. We see that, over a decade, the value of the dollar is going up. It does correct, and as we know, most recently, we've are breaking new highs, and we're coming close to approaching values of the US dollar that we haven't seen since 2001. And of course, if we break those highs, we would be looking at, not that we're thinking about this, but we would be looking at highs that go all the way back to, January of '85. Since 1985, we see that there's this trend line up top here. We can see that essentially the value of the US dollar has popped up above this trend line, has come down and tested it as support, and appears to be following a more near-term trend line to the up direction, perhaps initiating, a new decadal-long pattern or trend. Before we talk about trend changes, we recognize that we can just move sideways for the next decade. and have increased volatility, and not really be outside the norm, but definitely moving towards a different type of future in regards to the value of the US dollar. US dollar monthly time frame, we see that we are having a pullback. We would expect a pullback after this, parabolic run up over the last couple years, and in regards to the value of the dollar. We can see that we currently are getting a bounce at a 50% retracement, and we can, we shouldn't be surprised if we see another type of bounce, 50% retracement of this, correction, and then to kind of get down to the 65% retracement before we pop up out of that and start looking at possibly breaking, new highs. So we are expecting a higher low than our previous low on the monthly, and we are looking for lower highs, plenty of room for lower highs to follow after that. Again, more sideways over the course of the next couple of years is completely reasonable, and probably the most painful, but also the best opportunities for folks that can manage positions, within these ranges. Again, this is not financial advice. This is just how I am putting patterns onto the market to make sense of it. I'm not saying that these patterns will play out, but I am saying that the information that we gather from these patterns not playing out or playing out will tell us a lot about what to expect as we make our own financial decisions. This is just entertainment. But we can see since March of 2020, in January and 2022, we have made pretty sure this made it a 38% correction. We can remove these, make that just a little easier. We are getting a bounce on that correction in the S&P 500. And if we come down to the weekly, we can see that we've put in a higher low, and we have the potential for a lower high on the short-term time frames. And we really, if we want a monthly change in trend, we really need to break these previous highs. And ultimately, the high at 47,000. But step by step, if we go every 2 weeks, we have to break these highs and confirm. If we can expect markets and the dollar in general to be ranging, again, there's no reason why the S&P 500 can't also break new local highs and come back down and put in lows within this very large range. And we are expecting a move at least to this red line here. So we're watching that. We have an alert set. This low right here. Crossing down on a bar close. If we do not get this alert, we can just assume we're in a bull trend, and then as we get pullbacks, this will be moved up. We are looking and expecting resistance as we break new highs and test the highs that go all the way back to August of 2022. So we expect volatility, expect the dollar to range, we expect there to be volatility in the S&P 500 to the upside. We see the same pattern in the NASDAQ Composite Index. We're essentially ranging and moving up, coming into, resistance. We need to confirm new highs, continue to set in higher lows, and before we can start pushing up to, again, August 22 highs. We see that the S&P 500 is above the Vegas Wave moving averages, which I have here as the 144 and the 169, the green and blue moving average. S&P 500 is above. The NASDAQ is coming into, hoping to close above or move above on the next weekly candle. Take a look at some currencies real quick. I love watching the Indian rupee. It's, I wish I could, basically just, we get a triangle, breakout, come back, retrace. Eventually this is going to stop going up relative to the dollar, but it's, why not? It is right now doing good. So if it breaks to the downside, we're looking for support at any of these key points, and generally when it's just getting close to this yellow line is a good time. Bet on the 2-week, you can really see a lot of play on the 50-week moving average. So if we break down in this triangle, 386, 382, be a pretty good spot. Otherwise, we're looking for a move up. Euro has been ranging. We see a flat right here leading into quite possibly a 5-wave move down. So this would be 5, 1, 2. Boom. Could see another, as we come into resistance here, This could also be the start of a new pattern, but likely, right, likely we're looking at something like that. Let's see. So euro downtrend, lower lows, lower highs. Aussie dollar is ranging, getting squeezed. We have getting higher lows. On the 3-month, we're essentially looking for a higher low to be put in. We keep making lower highs, so price action is getting compressed, and we can expect a break to the upside or downside at some point. But definitely more sideways. Tech stocks, again, we're seeing very similar patterns to what we saw in the S&P 500. I do have, we're looking for a lower high from which to anchor this pitchfork to. So we'll look for that to play out. If we go to the 2-week, we can see that we're getting a bounce off of the Vegas wave, looking to put in a higher low, and we're testing or getting up to previous local highs. So tech stocks are going up, means a little bit of risk is on, I think. People are wanting growth. See a similar pattern here, ultimately a downtrend. But if we are looking for signs of an uptrend, we just have to break out of this pattern. Apple, let's see, if we look at QQQ on let's look at it on the 2-week. We can see that we are coming into and bouncing off of the Vegas wave moving averages. Apple, we are well above the moving averages. In fact, if we go down to the weekly, we could be getting a very strong bounce off of the Vegas wave. If we go to Google, you see Google is struggling and approaching the Vegas wave. We'd be looking for a pullback and hope to get a move up, but Google's definitely lagging behind Apple. Tesla is lagging behind Google. As you can see, it's just now approaching the 144 moving average after finding support just below the probably 500 week moving average. Amazon also well below the 144 moving average, and in fact got quite a rejection off of nearly the 50-week moving average. So QQQ is strong. Apple is stronger than Google, Tesla, and Amazon. but we are expecting up, and you know, you shouldn't get too excited. But money going into tech stocks means that money is going into crypto. So this is why we look at total market cap of crypto. Later on, we'll also check out the total market cap of DOT, Uniswap, and Mana, which are 3 of the top 10 largest DAOs by treasury size. But total crypto market cap, you know, looks very much like tech stocks. We're getting, you know, monthly bounces. We're looking for ultimately on the monthly a lower high. So before we see a trend change on the monthly, we want to see a trend change on the weekly. We see we have a pretty strong downtrend. However, we have over the last, you know, since the beginning of the year, been on a 3-day uptrend, maybe daily uptrend. Yeah, you can say we've been on a daily uptrend. We are scouting out a weekly uptrend, and we'll be closing tonight on the weekly slightly higher than the candle closes from our previous local high. So of course, over the rest of this month, hopefully into March, we can move up and into the Vegas Wave moving averages and flip those around, turn them into support. With this type of move, we would be expecting some kind of pullback at these moving averages before moving up. And we definitely have resistance coming above us. But money coming into crypto, always good. We look at Bitcoin dominance. Do this on the monthly. Now let's go to the weekly. We can see that we're essentially ranging since 2021. We would be with closes over these red boxes, we would be looking for moves up higher towards the moving averages. You can see that we are getting a pullback here. We want to see these turn into support. Bitcoin is currently 44% of all crypto. Ethereum is about 20%. We can see that Ethereum is, holding its own as well as Bitcoin in its place in the market. We are well above, of course there's not as much history as Bitcoin, but we're well above the moving averages on Ethereum for Ethereum dominance. We have been, running into this ceiling. Any pullback to some of these fibs could, just be a good opportunity to, for Ethereum folks. Good news. Bitcoin and Ethereum together make up just over 60% of all cryptos. And if we include, so we have, dominance for Ethereum and Bitcoin on the near term, maybe pulling back, on the medium term, increasing or holding its own ever so slightly. We also have, if we're expecting people to move into Bitcoin or cryptos in general, we would expect to see some tether dominance to decrease as people move from stable coins into ETH and Bitcoin. So we're looking for targets down in near the 5% for tether. Definitely doesn't have to go this low, but we technically it's a pretty good indicator of people pulling money in and out of crypto if people are also moving that money into crypto from Tether or USDC. So about 70% of all crypto would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tether. Just 3 cryptos. Always interesting to just follow those. So Bitcoin, again, I like to relate Bitcoin to tech stocks. When we see things happening in tech stocks and we see things happening in Bitcoin, we should play the game accordingly. Whether that's to the upside or the downside, the trend is your friend, as one of my favorite YouTubers always reminds me. But essentially, right, if S&P, let's see, 500, the Spider ETF Trust is a good way to track S&P 500. ETFs are futures, right? So people very much pricing in and making trades based on what they see value is in the future. Very regulated, so very good ETF to track for patterns. And of course, we see, just like we do in the S&P 500 chart and in QQQ, we see actually a higher low for the Spider relative to October 2022, and at a 50% retracement, right? So we know algorithms are going to be buying at the 50% retracement. It has broke through the downward, the selling algo. Actually, let's just skip that. So it's found support on the 50% retracement. It's now moving up to break and test, local highs, and if we do continue to move up or sideways, we have a nice range here that we can stay in or break out of or come back down from. But again, just kind of confirming the general pattern in the market is up and sideways with pullbacks. These are very significant pullbacks. Ranging, a 10% range. You can trade 5% moves every week or every couple weeks or every month. That's a pretty good swing trade. So, I always like to take a look first at the BLX chart, which is the chart with the longest running history on Bitcoin. I track some key. This is my one chart to rule them all. And this chart requires looking at a RSI chart as well. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit here. This is really important to get. Bam. Nice. There we go. So, historical Bitcoin. When we put in macro lows, certain things like give signals that that's pretty much the macro low. And it's a good time to start accumulating Bitcoin. Like if you would have just started accumulating at these times, Bitcoin on the monthly time frame, you know, essentially over the course of 9 months, you know, we could have been accumulating Bitcoin with pretty decent certainty, and we can even have signals, these dotted lines, from which to add to our positions when we started. So, and I've dropped some videos of this in BanklessDAO, but when we see this large red candle with a big bottom wick, and we see that we're approaching the bottom of these Bollinger Bands, and in particularly 44 on the RSI, we can start feeling like this is a good place to buy Bitcoin. It may or may not be the bottom. In this case it was. But that's where you start buying Bitcoin. And you buy a little bit more Bitcoin as long as we don't go lower in price and lower in the RSI. You can see that once the orange and red line cross on the RSI, we start getting confirmation that we're doing a good thing, and we can be pretty secure in our position. So we get a turnaround of the strength, we get across to the upside, confirmed, even though it came back down, we confirm again as it breaks back to the upside, and so we can add to our position throughout this period and prepare for whatever it is that comes next. And what usually comes next is a bull run. We can do the same here. We see the levels in RSI come outside the Bollinger Bands. We start looking at the chart and thinking this would be a good time to start buying crypto. We see this trend change, and we had a period of, you know, essentially 5 months to accumulate Bitcoin. And it stayed the low, came back in, crossed the red line to the upside, and was off to the races. We see this very big wick again, finding support at 50 on the RSI before making a move for the next bull run. We have this happen again. We start approaching yeah, we start really approaching the bottom of the Bollinger Band. We're down below 40 on the RSI, which is just always a historically good time to start. You know, as soon as we break down below it, you know, we can kind of start making our purchase. And then we get a cross of the RSI to the upside, and you know, it continues to this day. And so each month would be a good time to add to your Bitcoin holdings for the next few months. You know, it's currently been 6 months of sideways, and we're now starting to see, you know, daily leading into weekly changes. So these three things have happened in Bitcoin's past. Generally means a good low. You don't want to bet the farm, but there's no reason why, if you have money that you do not need for, you know, a couple years, that you shouldn't start hodling some Bitcoin or Ethereum. And of course, we know that when traditional markets go sideways and Bitcoin goes sideways, we can, you know, then look for altcoins to make their moves. So this is the macro monthly look on Bitcoin. If you're ever sad, this is the chart to watch. You know, quite easily, we're looking at moves, you know, in the hundreds of percent coming over the next few years, leading into a recession. Right? We have a very good point of failure where we can like reassess our plans here. If we get below 14,202, you know, we can start questioning our analysis. But regular markets looking to go up a little bit. Could be the same for Bitcoin. We look at Bitcoin on the weekly futures. Futures tell us that there's still more upside to go as we reach up into these moving averages. Because these are made, you know, we can see that we've come down, tested, we've been rejected, you know, we've found support. Well, we don't have much of a history on futures to find support, but we can expect a rejection at those levels. Even reaching the top of the levels at 27,000 would be good, or you know, up into 28s. But ultimately, from those levels, we would expect some type of correction. You know, this would be, you know, 50% correction on that. You know, would be back down to 21,000. Of course, could go as low. Whoops, this is reversed. Don't reverse. There we go. You know, we could have a bullish correction back down here to 22,000. Of course, it could go much lower. You know, bam. Really, let's just put that whole range on there. Actually, we wouldn't want to see it go that low. 786. Nope. Boom, boom, boom. Right about there. We would not want to see that broken. We also noticed that we have a CME gap up here at this little thin red box. So, yeah, that's why we're, could see a move up there. So, Ethereum futures do not yet have enough history. To be using the 144 week moving average. We do have a 50-week moving average where we can see we've had some rejection from in the past. So this is a pretty big, and we've had some last week, a rejection off the 50-week moving average as well. We go down to the daily, the daily, we can see that we're starting to get some action off of the Vegas wave. We're starting to turn it in support on the daily. We want to see a move up to the 400. Let's go. Let's just go into the ETH BTC chart. Again, we'll go on the weekly. So, ETH BTC overall doing great. We're so far in this pitchfork. We're looking, for the flippening. We have higher lows, higher highs on ETH to Bitcoin. We have a deflationary mechanism on the asset in general, just always putting downward pressure on the inflation. If we go down to the weekly, we can see that we've been finding some pretty heavy resistance at the 0.08. This has also been great for traders accumulating Ethereum against Bitcoin. Just sell your Ethereum or sell your Bitcoin, which is sell your Ethereum for Bitcoin at 0.08. Buy it back anywhere 0.06, 0.07, 0.05, and you're collecting more Bitcoin and more Ethereum, hopefully, as well in the process. And so we're looking to, possibly have a bounce. We have a tightening range here on the very short time frames. A break of that range could bring us back down to 0.06, the lower 0.06s. This, if it holds, would be a great moving average to start accumulating on. And of course, these lows, 0.049, could even get retested on this yellow trend line, coming back from way back. We can also expand this a little bit. See, the more sideways we go, the more time component is brought into the market. And, essentially markets want to go up. And so the more time that goes sideways, the farther down it needs to go in order to find its value before moving back up into speculative areas. So we're watching the flippening, watching it on the monthly, watching it on the weekly. Some good some good obvious places we could move down to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could be essentially, we would see this as an impulse wave. This could be 4, 5. This could be 4, 5. And then we would be looking for something to come back up here. Nice 3-wave move to bring us up here. Possibly another 5-wave move down to here before turning around, heading back up. You can see this would catch a lot of this liquidity. This would be a very deep correction of this impulse back here. But again, if we're going up and sideways in the markets and more dominance into Bitcoin than Ethereum, then we can expect more downside. If the opposite happens and we see ETH dominance go up relative to Bitcoin, then we can potentially expect, some type of sharp 5 here, completing this correction and allowing us to move up, get back into resistance. So we'll see how that goes. For right now, we're just going to watch that play out, this 5-wave. If we get above the moving average, we want to re-look, we want to reassess what happened here. This could be a 1, 2, 3 correction and more corrections going sideways. Go to BTC on the weekly. All right, we can see that we came down 50% correction from previous bull run. Since November of 2021, we've made a 50% correction on the previous bull run. We're now getting a relief, a rally, a correction on this correction since 2021. This has played out over a whole, just over a year, essentially a year. And we're now 3 months in, or a couple months into a correction on, what's happened the past year, right? And we are looking to create a higher high to our local highs. We would like to see a test of this trend line coming from way back in a spring off of it. We would then be expecting a higher low to form. We would not be surprised if it was a shallow 4, but we're looking for a pullback that doesn't break at 18,375 before maybe another pump to $28,000. We see that we have the 144. We see that we're approaching the 50-week moving average. We are over the 20-week moving average, which is always the great moving average to be above on Bitcoin. But we just don't want to be above these moving averages. We want to move above, beyond them, come back to them, test them as support, and then progress more to the upside. The daily on Bitcoin, however, so 2 things can happen. We can have a deeper retracement back to some very good areas to build support from, or we can maintain this upward trending channel and have our correction as we move in time through this channel, and then moved up to 25 and $28,000, leaving people behind that, you know, are hoping to buy back down in the low 20,000s. And this is what could get some folks to FOMO and, you know, get us, you know, keep us either on the path to 40,000, or, you know, to just, you know, get to 28 first, right? We can, you know, we're actually have a very nice pattern here on the 4 hour. We have some key areas that, you know, we want to hold that tell us, you know, some very tight stop losses that we can have here. We're looking for a reaction on, let's just go down to the 15 minutes. Let's be honest here. If we're looking for a trend change at this level, we are looking for a 5-wave move. It could come off as a correction, but ideally we would like to see a 5-wave move. We have a higher low. We have a higher high relative to the recent local high on the 15 minutes. Just printed. Bam. And we don't want to see a close below this white dashed line. So if the next, of course, we can come down lower, you know, as long as we don't, you know, we can come all the way back down to here, you know, 90%. But essentially, we want to keep seeing higher highs, higher lows. We can expect, you know, a breaking of this 50, you know, moving average, get us up into some 4-hour, probably hourly resistance. So we can expect some volatility through here, maybe some sideways. Getting up to here would just be twice, you know, would be just a nice little correction. But we need to see these higher lows on the lower time frames develop into, so, and then hopefully on the next higher high on the 15-minute, we can have some type of high put in on the hourly, something like that. But we're watching this. We're looking for opportunities to start scaling into Bitcoin, in particularly wrapped Bitcoin on the Optimism network. We go to our ETH chart. We see that Bitcoin was very much below the Vegas wave. Ethereum is right here, knocking on the door. So Ethereum looking a little stronger. Not yet above the most local of lower highs, whereas Bitcoin is clearly above previous lower high. So maybe Bitcoin's a little ahead of Ethereum. We shall see. But we are, you know, making that sideways and upwards move if, you know, the rest of the market does the same. Lots of room for Ethereum and Bitcoin to come down and find support on the higher time frames. That's basically the Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ba-dum-bum. Alright, now I'm going to turn on the recording for some short videos. Forgot to do it for everything that I just did. However, let's just go through these charts. Alright, OP. OP on the daily. We are still in... Alright, let's go to the weekly. We are creating higher highs. We hope in a couple weeks to have a confirmation of this higher high. Should definitely be in. If we go to the daily, you can see that we are definitely on an uptrend as far as the daily goes. We have plenty of room to come back and correct into, turning, previous resistance into support. We have mostly come out of my position in OP as scaling into US Tether, and I'm looking for a pullback to load back up. We have not had one yet. 1, 2, 3. Want to see that could happen. That would get me to load back up. This would also, any of these levels would actually be pretty good. Two, three. Yep, we're looking for a pullback to load back up. Bank. Let's go to the weekly. So essentially here on Bank, again, we are looking for a reversal pattern. So we might as well put one on the charts. Very common reversal pattern is called a head and shoulders. Essentially, this happens when you have a left shoulder, which is a lower low, and then you have a lower high, and then you have one more final low and low, which is the head, and then you have another lower high, but the next time you have a higher low, and once you break the neckline across these highs, you can look for a move up in proportion to the size of the head. So we're looking for, this goes lower. We could be looking for something like that. Breaking through this resistance would be what gets us up here. Currently, always look at Bank in USD terms on DeFi. It's a pretty fun website. See, I always got to create the chart from scratch. But if we go out to the daily on the bank token, you can see that we're sitting at 0.8 of a dollar, which is pretty good. We are just barely holding on to this trend line. I'm guessing we can't see a weekly here. But with today's hopefully closing in a couple hours or hour above this trend line, technically we haven't had, technically I got to do it like this. I'm going to get technical. If I'm going to get technical. Boom. So if we bring this out to these trend lines, basically we're dancing on this trend line, right? Doesn't matter. This gets like the most touches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. Technically, we haven't had, no, we've had one open and close below the trend line. However, it's this doji, very, very big wick closing above, and, a kind of retest as support, and today's closed above it. So we can look for more continuation to the upside on the bank token. And again, we got some very interesting points that we can bring this to. That's probably the best one. Bank price is getting squeezed. It's coming, getting sloppy. Of course, we want to see it go up. But, pretty hefty close below. Basically we just start looking for, horizontal support. One breaks, we would look for a retest of the other one. Use the closures. So let's hope it doesn't fall down. Let's hope it goes up and that we can start looking to test new highs on bank. Sold USD on the weekly. Got a little pump. We have technically, we could just be putting in a lower high. On the daily, we are ranging. We are starting to find some support on the 144. We are also getting resistance on the 169. But we will want to, not break that low. You can see they're hunting for liquidity. It'd be interesting to see where this closes today. Closing above that green line the next hour would be very, very interesting. Maybe not likely. Maybe it could. Could make it. It would take a bullish engulfing candle. To 24. Is that even possible? Well, that would be a huge candle. No. Let's see. That'd be a pretty nice sized candle, but getting up to there would be pretty cool. So we're kind of waiting to see if we're coming down, testing the biggest wave. Go back to the daily. One way or the other. Matic's on a rip. We have a higher low, a higher high, a higher low. We would like to see a higher high on the weekly next week. Doji candles definitely getting into resistance. We could just get compression of the price and a squeeze before moving more to the upside. Again, more sideways, more pain for traders because we just want things to go up all the time. BAO token. Not really quite sure what's going to happen with the BAO token, but we can see that we are in a range here. If we can close above this range, we can start, tapping the liquidity, that's above us, staying in this pitchfork. We are looking, for something, not gonna lie, something on this red line until we get out of it, which we could do. We could go sideways here, up and down, come out. Then we'd just be looking at other patterns. We look at ENS on the weekly, we see a much different response. Still within this pitchfork, we have a higher low. We actually have higher low, higher high. We're essentially within this range, but we are looking for targets up to this red median line. This would give us new higher highs and, get us above the 50-week moving average on ENS. Maybe put in, kind of further solidifying that the lows, temporary lows, near-term lows are in. See the same pattern on AVAX. We have been, coming up into resistance. Plenty, potentially a new higher high. Plenty of room to come back and form a higher low before moving upwards. You can, is this a head and shoulder? I don't know. But this is a reversal pattern. This is what we would be looking for. We don't have to stay in these pitchforks, but we want to see pullbacks, higher lows. Sushi swap on the weekly. Ranging, coming up into resistance. Lots of indecision. Basic attention token breaking through some of the local resistance on this correction. Looking to, either get higher highs or put in lower highs quite easily before pulling back for more accumulation.
Gitcoin, we kind of have this trend line that we are, you know, potentially breaking through over, the rest of this quarter. We do have an alert for when this crosses up. We get a close at the end of the weekly. We'll move this up to here. Ultimately, we're going to want to see a move up over this trend line, correcting off the 50, turning this trend line into support. We do see just the slightest bit of bullish divergence on the lows. Some RSI folks, we see lower lows and, technically higher highs on the RSI. We are pretty overextended on the Bollinger Bands, but price is expanding. We can look for a pullback into the Bollinger Bands, and then we would be looking for continuation or confirmation of, hopefully higher lows, higher highs. Pre-search, same thing, bouncing, looking for a move up into some pretty heavy resistance. You see pretty far away from the 50-week moving average, so much weaker than Gitcoin, basic attention token, AVAX. SOS stuck in a range on the daily. Very volatile. Just kind of watching this. JBX token. Pretty volatile, but in, kind of playing this channel. It's been, finding support in, pulling lots of liquidity from, ideally we want to see a break above this golden pocket here if we want to start looking at some higher highs. Right, now we're at DAO Friends list. Again, we're trying to get through these moving averages. We are in resistance. We shouldn't be surprised for a pullback. We should waiting to be patient, looking for an opportunity to accumulate a little bit on these pullbacks. You don't want to buy at resistance. Right. Atom, same thing. We are kind of just marching through. Basically, this is a big flat. So, watch and see what happens on Atom. Very tradable token. Axie, already having a pullback. Higher up into the moving averages. We have a higher low established for a nice pitchfork. It's already made its move to the median line, maybe finding some support on that median line. We'll need to see some more volume come in, but we have a higher low, higher high on the 3-day. For Axie, DOT has not made this bounce yet. Friends with Benefits has a lot of resistance overhead, and if back at testing, potentially lower lows. So we have lower highs. We had a potential to change that. We'll see how it's going with FWB. Ghost also making a run, wants to create some new highs, wants to put in, we want to see a further movement through these moving averages, possibly a pullback to retest this trend line, turn it into support. Kyber Network. Probably closing above the 382. So we would be looking for a move, and we'll get an alert, hopefully. Crossing up for the bar close. So still some room to move up. May need a pullback before getting all the way up to these higher moving averages. Link. Same thing. We got to pull back to the 382 today or this week. It could be enough to continue upwards, or we could need a little bit deeper of a retracement. Nowhere near a higher high. Maybe on the 3-day. So on the 3-day, plenty of room to pull back for a higher low. Plenty of room to bounce up to create a higher high in the short term. Mana BTC. I got to change this chart. Let's just forget about mana here because we got it down below. Sheeb or near. Yep, that was near. Sheeb pumping. Yeah. Sheeb is pumping. So you can see Sheeb has found some support off the, that's the 3-day. That makes sense. Boom. Breaking through the 50-week moving average. We want to see it close above here and continuation upwards. Plenty of room to pull back for a higher low. Boom. So we'll see. UOS. Same as the rest. Bouncing. Will be coming up into resistance. We're looking for, the top of this and then a pullback. Let's go to the big DAOs. So we have DOT with 7.6 billion in total market cap on the increase. Still looking for, essentially this doji here could be still a lower high. Plenty of room to put in a higher low. Also, plenty of room to continue to possibly put in a new high. Same thing with Uniswap. Mana looks quite a bit different. We've had more sideways action from Dot and Uniswap. Uniswap looking, a little bit healthier. With a 1.365 billion market cap for Mana. We maybe will be printing a higher high in a couple weeks as we move back down looking for a higher low. So, we want to see this. So DOT, doing pretty much what everything else is, having a little relief rally. Boom. So we'll see. Lots of resistance overhead. Probably. Yeah, 236. More resistance. 0.5, 618, 786. We know what to expect coming up. Could just be continued to the downside for DAO. No. Uniswap moving sideways. We could be looking at a kind of flat. This could also come back down to here for a flat, but we'll go right here for now. And we're just looking for, that will tell us a lot. Mana, it's got the pump, probably find some resistance here at the 50-week moving average. ENS. Let's take ENS off of there. Did ENS, BitDAO. Yeah. So that's like where's the 0.88 in all this? 0.88. Follow that on BitDAO. This is let's see what happens. What did that come down to? Almost at the 0.5. Gnosis DAO. Coming up on some resistance. So pulling back. We'll watch this, see how far back it pulls. Go to Lido. Wow, Lido. This is that's all we're gonna do on Lido. See what happens. We got Frax. I thought Frax was a stable coin. It is a stable coin. Pretty stable. Poor Ohm. Sure did break these trend lines, didn't it? We do see a tapering off. We see what may look be like the lowest of lows. So, could be breaking this high. That might give us a higher high. We want to see a lower low put in would be nice. Or a higher low. Actually. Curve on the weekly. Looks like the flipping NASDAQ. SPY. What is this? Yeah. Very interesting. Curve just looks like a tech stock. We are at, wow, we are testing some historic support for Curve token. We have on the 5-day chart a higher high. We are looking for quite possibly a very ever so slightly higher high. Pitchfork or fibs? Let's do fibs first. Bam. go. And that's Kurt. Ultimately, right on the big time frames, we're just looking for lower highs.
But if we're going to see some type of turnaround that persists over the next 3 to 6 months, now's the time where we would want to start seeing that correction happen. Again, correcting essentially the price action over the last year in the markets. So, hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, if you want to see me add anything to the chart, drop it in the comments. And check out the description for some cool links. And have a good day.